My name is Samuel Brissett. I'm a designer at Snowhead.
I'm Gilles Saucier from Saucier & Barrett Architect, Montreal, Canada.
I'm Craig Dykers, an architect and co-founder of Snaheta.
Mark Spalding with the Lyceum Fellowship and Sims Maney McKee Associates.
I'm Michael Pardek. I'm an architect at SNMA.
And we've assembled ourselves together today to choose the awards for the Lyceum competition this year. The program that we chose and worked together to develop inside the studio is based in Canada in a town called Guelph, which is primarily an agrarian community with a great deal of farming communities around the city itself. The project consists of creating a food market hall and community space as well as residences that can help bring people, different types of people in the community together. Guelph, like many other communities of a similar size and nature in Canada, is receiving a large number of immigrants from different parts of the world, and the connection between those immigrants and the people who live in the city is becoming more and more interesting. In this particular project, we're hoping that food will bring people together and that the architecture could promote connectivity through not only the purchasing of food, but the preparation of food from the viewpoint of different types of cultures. The town is relatively small, but is known for its rather beautiful cathedral. There's a beautiful river that goes through the town, and a number of smaller urban features nearby that have been neglected over the years, but the basic framework of Guelph is really very interesting and very, very wonderful. So we were also hoping that the projects would help develop the city in a positive way urbanistically in the future. And it's also very important that landscape be an important feature of the design. This isn't just about architecture. Landscape has tremendous value when you're creating an open-air market as well as an indoor market. How people interact during the seasons has tremendous value. So that's sort of the starting point of how we began to understand these projects. We went through about 50 projects and ultimately settled on 4 that received awards and a citation, and 2 that were receiving a merit award. And so perhaps Gilles perhaps would like to tell us a little bit about your thoughts of some of the winners.
Yes, I think that the choice we made is relevant to this idea of creating a new community and to crystallize this idea of a community gathering around that marketplace. And first, the winner, in fact, of the competition is one that crystallized the most the relationship between what the building will be used for and the creation of space which are very at the scale of the city. I can say more about others, but I think that the result is kind of a balance between more conceptual project and more realistic project. So perhaps you can.
Yeah, we had such a great variety of ways that folks address this notion that it's about gathering and also about passage and knitting together the broader fabric of Guelph and what exists beyond the town, which is, primarily agricultural land. And there's also a notion that you're connecting to these natural environments too, the river. So in some senses, these proposals, the winners represent some of those various methodologies. And by example, someone that really approached this in a manner of kind of more rational organization of architectural form, but one that addressed the breadth of possible cultural interactions, since another piece of the project was about immigration and integration of various cultures into this context of surrounding food, or something that was a lot more just about really, in a way, the weaving of the landscape and less distinctly addressing the program and the specific relationships of that, and more about creating some beautiful possible open space environments that the center of Guelph could benefit from.
And I think across the board, there was a whole variety of strengths, but I think one thing that was consistent was maybe the challenge of graphics and telling a complete story in any one project. I think there's always kind of a component missing to a certain degree, so which made it kind of challenging to judge. Some people were very strong at giving you the image of the place or the perspective view. Other people were much stronger at making analytical diagrams, and I think the challenge was that there was very few people that were able to do both of those and tell a complete story. I guess I'll finish with our merit award winners. So we had two that we called out that had a little bit of spark to them. Not fully complete projects, but certainly ones that captured our attention. So it was definitely a spectrum of projects. I think we came to a really strong conclusion on the top three in the citation.
And this one, the winning scheme, for me, graphically represented most what this project is about. It's like drawing with the views of it, like the material. You see the greenery and food and people working in it, which represent the reality of this of the project. So it shows a lot of sensitivity to what will be the use of that space, and at the same time represented very, very, very well for the program.
Ultimately, the project and the program was somewhat unusual in that it's a kind of a raw type of program. A market isn't the traditional sort of cultural enterprise that everyone pulls out the book of inspiration and says, oh, I'm going to do a museum or I'm going to do a library or something like that. Food market has a kind of dirty grittiness to it, as well as a kind of hygienic and exciting and social component to it. The winning project shared a lot of values across multiple cultures. It was at one point colorful and at another point restrained, which one can understand as perhaps the same challenge that happens with immigration and those that are indigenous to the regions and how those cultures meet. So that was a part of how we felt this was represented. Also, there was just a lot of life in the project in many levels, and so we were happy to see that many of the people, especially the winning project, could show the different types of ways of living with this project over a long time. So there's a sensibility of growth that the project represents in many ways. So all in all, we reached our conclusions, I think, rather clearly and strongly. We had a good deal of debate, but we felt that the winning projects more or less are the way they were from the very early stages of the judging. So there was a unanimous feeling in the final result, and so we were quite satisfied, I think, with the representation.